Now, let us introduce our final speaker for today. So, he is also affiliated with the Department of Labor and Employment as an accredited voluntary arbitrator, member of the Tripartite Executive Council, and the board member representing the labor sector of the RTWPB Mimaropa. He is also a member of the National Anti-Poverty Commission, former Labor and Migrant Workers Sectoral Council, and member of the Industrial Global Union Global Gender Equality Advisory.
Presently, he serves as a Director for Political and Legislative Action and Concurrent Director for Foreign Relations of the Philippine Trade and General Workers Organization of the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines. Here to discuss with us how worker engagement can transform the labor relations climate towards a culture of productivity, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Darius Guerrero.
Okay. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. The first problem that I'm having every time that I go up the stage is and stand behind the podium. Hindi ako sigurado kung makikita ko. Kung makikita ko sa likod ng podium. Next problem that I'm having is pagkasunod ako magsasalita ng taong tinitikala mo sa labor movement. As early as when I was 20 years old. In fairness to USEC, that was only 2 years ago. But allow me to dispense with greeting yung mga importante at matataas na tao dito sa room na to ngayon. Because that would mean 200 plus katao po yung babanggitin ko. That would also mean 1,000 tao sa Facebook, yung kailangan, Facebook Live, yung kailangan kong banggitin. So it will take up most of my 20 minutes. But let me greet yung mga kasamahan ko na board members sa RTWPB sa buong Pilipinas. At kasama yung kanilang mga board secretaries. Okay. And dahil ako po ay bahagi ng RTWPB Mimaropa, let me give recognition to the members of the RTWPB Mimaropa, yung kasalukuyan at past members of the Mimaropa. Hindi na ko po sila iisa-isahin dahil mauubos yung oras ko. Pero si RD Albert Gutib po yun, si RD John Gonzales, si RD Job Suyaw, at sa kasalukuyan si RD Naomi Abellana. Sila yung mga RDs ng Department of Labor who have been part of the RTWPB Mimaropa. Now, let me point out our experiences. Gaya po ninyo, since 2008, when the Productivity Olympics was started, kami ay nangarap na umakyat sa stage kasama ng mga champions ng MSMEs para sa Productivity Olympics. Kanina lang ay inilaunch yung 2023 Productivity Olympics and kasama po yan sa pangarap namin. Where do I point this out? Okay. And in 2021, when the NWPC correctly, rightly pursued the conduct of the Productivity Olympics, kahit na may pandemic, yung pangarap namin na makaakyat sa stage, finally, may nanalong Mimaropa MSME. And that's the Rihanna Bake Shop. Problema, hindi kami nakaakyat sa stage. Kasi then, we applauded virtually. We were on the virtual stage, but we were not able. So hindi pa din kami nakakaakit sa stage despite. Hopefully in 2023, along with other MSMEs who will be recognized as champions of the Productivity Olympics. Pero we learned valuable lessons dun sa 2021 Productivity Olympics. Ano yun? Una, unlike past Productivity Olympics, anong mini-measure natin? Productivity programs that were implemented, productivity incentives that have been given to the workers, numbers, income statement. But in 2021, we were not talking about that. We are talking about how resilient MSMEs were, how they are surviving. Kasi that time, ongoing pa ang pandemic eh. Even up to now, of course. But at that time, we were talking about how MSMEs are surviving the pandemic. And what are the lessons that we have learned? It's not only about productivity. It's about the resilience of companies that year. We realize that MSMEs are in the process of not only sustaining their business, but sustaining their business with the workers. Yung mga kumpanya po ay wala nang pampasweldo, pero they have to continue producing because kailangan ng ayuda ng mga manggagawa. Yung mga kumpanya, nagbo-volunteer pa yung mga manggagawa, even working beyond their hours, just to sustain the business. That's the way the MSMEs. At hindi lang ho empleyado nag-uusap natin dito. In Mimaropa, we're talking about communities. Yung mga magsasaka na nagtatanim ng arrowroot, dahil yun yung gagamitin ng mga bake shop, kasama sa nagpipilit na paunlarin yung negosyo. And what is that telling us? MSMEs in 2021, as I have seen it, they were allowing their workers to co-determine their business, to co-manage their business. In fact, sila yung nagbigay ng mga suhestyon. Gawin po natin to, gawin po natin yan. So that we will be able to survive this pandemic. Sila yung nagsasabi, ma'am, kahit di nyo na ako bayaran ng overtime. Basta, gawin po natin to. Paltan natin ang packaging. They were in fact co-managing and co-determining anong mangyayari sa company. Bagamat hindi ho yun formal na setup. Pero ito po yung mga lessons na gusto nating tingnan. We look at these lessons, these learnings, in highlighting our discussions on the topic that we have today. Transforming the labor relations by encouraging higher worker engagement. Of course, most of the HR practitioners, most of the presenters earlier today focused on worker engagement. Siguro dahil sa aking representation today, I'll be focusing more on the labor relations. Okay. First, let us recognize that the workplace is changing. Nagbabago na po yan. Even before the pandemic, it was slowly changing, considering the fast-paced changes in the technological aspects of doing business. But, nung panahon ng pandemic, biglang dumami ang natutong gumamit ng technology. Yung mga ayaw mag-Gcash dati, natutong mag-Gcash. Nasaan na yung ating mga taga-Gcash? My wife used to work with Globe Telecom and a member of the union as secretary, so familiar ako sa Globe Telecom. Other than that, napabilis po yung e-commerce, yung digital money. Actually, I was asking BSP the other day, kung nauso yung mga bitcoins, mga digital money, may paraan ba tayo for measuring them and for monitoring them? Kasi yung pera, di ba yung pera, may katumbas na dollar reserve or at least gold reserve. Pero yung digital coins which are operated globally, baka wala. we are also seeing advancements in technology. Dati, bago ka nga makabili ng computer, mahal. Tapos, kailangan mo na floppy disk. At di mo madadala sa bahay yung computer, sasabihin nagnanakaw ka sa kumpanya mo pag ginawa mo yon. Pero now, we are literally holding computers sa ating mga kamay, lumalaki man o lumiliit, pero yung capacities niyan ay capacity ng isang malaking computer. So, ano ho yung impact nito sa labor relations as we see it? First, mukhang kailangan ho nating pag-usapan uli anong definition ng workplace. I particularly know of some people who are working in the accounting field whose employer are abroad. Wala silang employer dito. They're doing accounting processes, accounting consultancy for clients na nasa ibang bansa din. Anong workplace? Sa bahay po. That's why we have the new IRR for telecommuting. Pero it still is a process, it still is a policy that is continuously being reviewed. Will always continuously be reviewed, considering na nagbabago talaga. Dati pag sinabi mong workplace, pasok ka sa kumpanya. In the case of Amplion, punta ka doon sa Kabuyao, doon sa factory nila. But now, we're seeing more and more people not working in particular places, at tapos may impact yun sa create law. Pero, we consider them employees. So how do we define now employment? If your employer is abroad, tapos empleyado ka, may employer-employee relations ka ba kung wala kayong kumpanya? Baka dapat meron. Kaya nakikita ho natin yung mga presentations kanina when we talk of gig o yung mga platform workers. These are new forms of employment that are continuously changing, has an impact on the current labor relations that we're having, the freelancer, the telecommuting workers. And how do we look at it as unions? Sabi nila yung pag-uunion medyo sinauna. Lahat ng bagay nakakahon. Magtayo ka ng union, ito ang policies. Mag-collective bargaining ka, ito ang policies. Pero, in a way, we're also changing. Baka hindi kasing bilis. But we also look at strategic responses sa organizing. We look at the DO40, CO3, na nagbabago ho yung mga polisiya na yan, the way you would organize unions. You also look at collective bargaining and dispute settlement. Lahat yan, nag-a-adjust po ang mga unions. Key information, based on the 2021 Labor Relations Overview, unionization rate is at 7.4%. Sa dinami-dami po ng taon, maliit pa din ang unionization rate. 1.6 million lang po may union. 835 lamang ang may CBA. 190,000 workers lang ang covered niyan. And mayroong 4 na strikes for 2021 covering only 166 workers. So considering this key information, do we look at unionization as a possible way for promoting worker engagement? One, of course, we have established policies. We have the labor management committees, bipartite at enterprise level. We have the tripartite industrial peace councils at the regional and the national levels. We have industry councils. So these are mechanisms for which you allow the workers to engage. At the level of the national, in terms of policy and governance, at the level of the bipartite, at the level of the enterprise, to the bipartite mechanisms. Of course, you have the union at the level of the enterprise. Tama po yung sabi ni Yusek kanina, when we talk of Labor Management Committee, dati ang tingin namin dyan pinampapalit sa union. Over time, hindi na, kasi we also include in the collective bargaining agreements provisions on labor management councils. Nahihiwalay nga po namin yan. All grievances sa grievance machinery and all productivity-related improvements dun sa LMC. Okay? So, basing on the lessons of Rehana's Bake Shop, balikan ko po yun. What are we saying? Worker engagement can be promoted by looking at the concept of co-determination. Gaya ng ginawa ng Rehanas o ng mga MSMEs during the pandemic. Let's encourage participation of labor with management in determining business policies. Let us promote cooperation between management and workers in decision-making. Baka hindi pa lang doon sa level ng representation sa board. Baka hindi ganun ka-formal. But it's important for us to co-determine with the company. That's among the drives that are being presented earlier. How do you engage workers? Make them see their purpose in the company. And one way is for them to co-determine. In fact, what has been being discussed by Canva or by GCash or when they talk about worker engagement is something like a co-determination. Baka hindi lang ganun na term o baka hindi lang ganun kataas na level. But that's also part of how we see our worker engagement should be promoted. Co-management. Practice managing something jointly. We share power with resource users, if we call it for the government. So at the level of the enterprise, whether it's MSMEs or like the Amplion, as big as Amplion, that's what they're doing when they have the councils. They were actually co-managing the company. So how to do it? First, for us, of course, there's still no substitute to allowing workers to unionize. Baka kailangan na po nating baguhin yung pagtingin natin sa mga union. We have proven that we can be responsible partners, productive partners. You see FFW, you see TUPAS, you see Likha, members of the Tripartite Wage and Productivity Board, TUCP and PTGWO, kung gaano sila ka-efficient in being effective partners at the level of the tripartite bodies, ganun din po sila ka-efficient sa loob ng kumpanya. We have to look at unionism in a different state na pwede namang mag-exist, that they are co-equals, that they are partners in promoting worker engagement at the level of the enterprise. So we still have the tripartite plus. Alin po yan? Mga tripartite bodies as we have it today sa RTWPB. It's necessary that we engage them, the workers' organizations, in the review and amendments of certain policies. When we talk of policies towards empowerment. Pag may mga policies po tayo nilalabas, kahit yung polisiya, department order para sa mga nakatayong manggagawa, o yung mga department order para sa laging nakaupong manggagawa, hindi ko alam kung may kasunod pa na department order doon. Pero that's basically looking at the welfare of the workers. At the same time, for the workers, it is a means for them to be empowered, especially for labor organization. So, we need to capacitate social partners, particularly trade unions. We strengthen tripartism sa lahat po ng venues possible. And let's change our perspectives about unions. Hindi yan po gaya ng dating pananaw na pag-union, pulahan, may welga doon, nagpasara ng kumpanya, nagrally, nanunog ng bus. Hindi na po ganun ngayon. Because you see worker representatives here who are able to engage tripartite partners in reasonable technical discussions and negotiations, particularly on wages. So let's change our mindsets when it comes to unionism. Sa darating po na December 4, ang Philippine Trade and General Workers Organization will be having our national convention. And when we were discussing, ano ba ang tamang tema? Sabi, new normal, bouncing back. But actually, the workers we're continuously organizing regardless of the situation. May pandemic man o wala. May martial law man o wala dati. So what we're saying, we are continuously organizing because that's our means for persistently empowering the workers. So, yun po ang aming strategiya sa mga susunod na panahon. Ano man ang sitwasyon, ano man ang panahon, we will continuously organize because that's our way for empowering the workers.